Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Stock Market Weekly Brief. And this week's topic is going to be where are we going to bounce? So, after this significant, insane drop with the week closing, with pretty much every single stock red, as well as in the double digits, with Fear and Greed Index in the single digits of four, and AAPL and System Data pretty much the most extreme bearish that you can ever be. And we have earnings coming up as well. So, financial sector. It's a new quarter. We have all these big banks reporting on Friday pre-market. And is the market going to bounce this week? So let's take a look at the charts with just in a little bit. So economic data as well, not that much next week, so which I would say it's a good thing for the market because you don't want to be, having extra weight of all these data needing to come in before you can get some kind of bounce going. We do have CPI on Thursday, so Monday and Tuesday there's really nothing. Wednesday just the FOMC minutes, and PPI Friday. All right. So I talked about last week. I think about this fear and greed index. We were at 21, and I said even though we were extreme fear, it doesn't matter as much because of the trend. If we were in a strong uptrend and we get the extreme fear, that's a buying opportunity. But if we're in a strong downtrend already, with overhead supplies, extreme fear can get more extreme. So just like we have been in AI sentiment extreme fear for like 4 or 5 weeks versus back in April, so not April, August, when we reached extreme fear over here on a strong uptrend, right on the higher time frame, we V-shaped. So it's a lot different here. So let's take a look at the chart. So pretty much on Wednesday we had this um, pattern going where we had this falling wedge, and it was looking like the bulls wanted to actually make a stance here, right? We had these lower lows lacking follow through, right? This was Monday, where we broke the weekly low, right? This was a weekly downtrend right here. Broke it, that weekly low over here, and it didn't follow through much. I mean, V shape, and then we started grinding up every day. We're green, green, green into the Wednesday, Liberation Day, and yeah. So after the announcement, after hours, we pretty much top ticked as well this resistance of the rising wedge right at after hours, and then we just rolled over, confirming continuation of the daily and weekly downtrend. We got insane follow through. So the question is, where are we going to bounce? So let's zoom out a little bit to the daily chart. We pretty much bottom ticked this August low at this moment. So if we gap down on Monday, I would say that's going to be a buying opportunity for a longer term position for the monthly bounce. You have to make sure you have your time frames horizontal set right. So if we do gap down lower, I'm looking down closer to this 417, around this 417 level, to this 412-ish zone, which would be about 1% away, 1, 2, and the next level will be 2.5% away. So which is the low of this structure, right? If we break the low of this structure, there's really nothing much again underneath it, right? If you guys look at this, this is a straight move up, right? So if we break this low of the structure, there's a little bit here and a little bit here, so it's going to be a lot easier to cut through. We are extremely oversold at the moment, right? Weekly RSI is oversold, but it doesn't matter as much just because the weekly RSI is over. It doesn't mean we're just going to V-shape all-time highs or anything near. So let's take a look on the monthly chart. So I'm looking for a monthly bounce, and so if we zoom out, right, this is one leg down in terms of monthly move, right? Top to the bottom with no consolidation at this given moment. Monthly charts. So if we get a monthly bear flag, let's just say this is hypothetical speaking, this is the bottom, or we can make it one more leg down, right, on Monday or Tuesday, and then bounce. This 0.382 is the area for bear flags, obviously. So if it doesn't get over that, we call it a bear flag. So from the top of the move to the bottom of the move, even if we bounce, right, we have these bear markets are known for insane rallies, right? Counter moves, relief rallies, and then go lower low. So for me, if we do bounce 10%, in the next coming months, right, or a month or two, and then we start rolling over, confirm that monthly downtrend like this, we will be in a bear market. That would be the sign for me, and for me that we this is going to be a much longer term top, not just like this year. It's probably going to be a multi-year top if we do confirm a monthly downtrend. Um, because that's like pretty much saying psychologically, right? Get a big bounce, everyone's going to be happy that we might grind up and potentially, oh, maybe we're going back to all-time highs to test this structure, right? And next thing you know, we just roll over and confirm that monthly downtrend. That would be huge. So yeah, so prepare for the bounce. If we do bounce to obviously 50%, then we make room. We could potentially have a room for a monthly higher low and a higher high, but that's going to be a couple months out, so we won't be just randomly predicting here. But as of the move, right, monthly move, this is a huge monthly move, right? We have dropped pretty much 21%, almost 22 in terms of Nasdaq Qs at this moment. You can call it a bear market, right? 20% close bear market definition, but for me, I'd like to see that monthly downtrend to mark that multi-year top if we do confirm a monthly downtrend. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a big bounce, like a counter rally. You see these counter rallies in bear markets. We had these right all the way during 2022 as well, right? Big move downs. We have these counter rallies, which are like 16% counter rallies, bottom move, top move, right? 23% moves, and then we make lower lows, right? These lower lows, another 24% down. So it would be pretty significant for me if we just keep drilling, like and not make these lower highs, which I don't think I've ever seen that unless there's another catalyst that comes out. But yeah, maybe we'll form that best case for bulls. Not best case as it the bounce, right? Maybe we'll form some kind of monthly head and shoulders year, which I don't think I've ever seen in any charts anywhere, right? Um, this could be the right shoulder right here, right? This is we pretty much formed that head already. If we get a big bounce, really rally, it could be a weak bear flag from the head and shoulders. Break this neckline, which is just picture perfect to the tick. August low, and then we confirm the multi-year top, right? Um, we didn't even. I don't think I've ever seen a monthly head and shoulders in terms of market. We didn't get one here either, right? This is a couple of months of sideways, and then we just rolled over. Is that 2022 was just straight down too, right? This is just boom. 2018 tariff, not tariff. It's also straight down as well. So get a monthly head and shoulders, and then confirms that yeah, it's probably going to mark a multi-year top. It's very rare to see because it's very rare to see this magnitude of a drop on the initial pullback. Usually we get a lot of bounces along the way, and so that head and shoulder is really tough to form on, especially indices. So that's why I don't think I've ever seen one. So those are the lows I'm looking at, and the longer term picture as well. If it's gap down, I'm definitely just gonna position trade and look for setups to position during the day to look for a multi-week swing to maybe multi-month swing, potentially to look for that monthly lower high, not like bounce, right? Even if it's a lower high bounce, we're gonna bounce a decent amount. So we'll see how it ends up opening on Monday. All right, let's look at the S&P 500 to see if we get any more clues. It's going to be a long video. There's a ton to look at, right? Multi-time frame. And yeah, so let's take a look. We're going to look at the MEG 7s as well a little bit after. If we're going to talk about that. But yeah, so SPY cut underneath this August low now. But the Qs currently is a double bottom. So best case, is we gap up on Monday, and this would be a kind of like a monthly break, lacking follow through, while the Qs held it. That's sometimes the case where one indices hold it and the other one doesn't, and it becomes a lack follow through for the other one, and that's where we bottom. But I'm not banking on that because we literally close at the absolute low of the day on every single time frame of the candle. Weekly low of the day, daily low of the day. That just kind of suggests that there might be a little bit more to go, but who knows, right? We could gap up overnight on weekends. But same idea, right? It is huge monthly drop, and we're likely going to look for that monthly lower high. So what a move. But yeah, we are weekly oversold, right? Weekly, daily oversold. Um, but this doesn't mean that we're gonna just bounce. If we do come down, we are testing this structure, right? If we break the low of this structure, there is really not that much below either, right? Look at this weekly candles. It's just straight up from here. So bulls really need to play defense from between this 5 where we are right now and 500 to 540, 590, sorry, 590 around this low. So we don't hold this structure, there's not that much below it. So that's why if we form that monthly head and shoulders on the Qs, get the weak lower high bounce, that means we are going to be cutting through this structure. If we get that monthly downtrend, and if we cut through this structure, right, then we have so much more like now. That's why it's going to be a multi-year top if we do form that monthly downtrend and lower low. Once we get that relief bounce going, and then make that lower low, it's we're going to cut through. But yeah, so we'll see if we get that. How the size of that bounce is going to be significant to me. Get a 50% retracement on that bounce, then we might look for a monthly higher low, which is a right higher low. But if we get a weak bounce, we're definitely looking for a lower high, where it goes lower. All right, let's look at Meta first, see if any clues that we're gonna bounce anywhere to help stop the bleeding in the market. All right, we are on the 4-hour time frame, and let's take a look. And to my surprise, we are actually, huh. So we remember we drew this, what do you call it? The support right here. I think it was many months ago. Bounce, bounce, bounce. It looks like we're just right there again. Let's see if we bounce from there. So this low, we're pretty much testing this structure right now. So Meta structure-wise is actually a lot better than indices and the other mega sevens as well, because we only undercut pretty much this structure and the all-time high structure. So now we are just testing this structure, which looks pretty darn okay if you zoom out to me. Hey, if you zoom out to the monthly, still looks fine at the moment. But yeah, let's see if we bounce from here. We did see a tiny bit of a reaction here, right? Bulls are holding. We get a big gap down sideways. See on this flush right here. There's kind of the break of support and then no follow through. So we did see let's just call it a defense from bulls, that there is a reaction on the line still again, right? Yeah, so we can call this a maybe. Right, clear bounces here, right? Every these are all huge bounces, and bulls play defense here. So we wick down, and then bulls play defense and bounced. This block line was also the prior resistance, right? Resistance here before it broke out. So, and it pretty much hit there as well. So, but we need some offense going. Like this can't just be, that 15-minute bounce and then it goes sideways and then nope, just kidding, right? So let's see if it bounces from here. This is it. This is pretty much if we cut through here. Then I'm looking down closer to this maroon line, which would be around 485s. Yeah, this 485 to 472 zone, which is this um, point of control of the zone. Yeah, because if we cut through, yeah, it's really not going to be that much if we cut through this structure as well. So I personally don't think we're going to cut through all this just in one go, right? We need that monthly lower high and then lower low, monthly downtrend to cut through all these levels. So we'll be looking at gap down. Yeah, as a viewer, I'll be looking at it, definitely interested. Meta gaps down 5%. Market's obviously going to gap down as well. So I would definitely be interested adding. All right. And if we do bounce, let's just see how it bounces, right? If it bounce, then I'm looking up top of the structure, which is around 534 for to test the first resistance. Because it's clear triple top. This is before we broke out, right? Triple top. Finally broke out. Then we enter this structure. So now when we come up to it, it's going to act as resistance. Comes up. All right, let's look at Tesla. So I want to call this relative strength, but it definitely held better, and we haven't broken the lows while the indices took another 10% down. The only reason I would say it's a little bit stronger here is because it already gave back 50% or more, right? 56% before all this market tanking shenanigans started. So let's just see if this low can hold. So if market bounces and this thing, doubles beta the market move, so market bounces 5%, and you see Tesla have a 10% day, then that's going to be continuation of relative strength. But right now, it's still, I would call, it's an 18% drop, right? So it's still similar to the drop of the market, but let's see if it holds, because we are holding above the structure. Pretty much that is all there is at the moment. Yeah, this is pretty much this structure holding. So that's what you want to see if the market do bounce, right? You want to bounce twice as much as it, maybe even more. That would be a sign where this potentially holding this low. All right, let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon definitely relative strength on Friday, right? We had an 8% bounce from the lows, although we didn't hold it into the end of the day. Take a look. Yeah, he was making new lows over here, and Amazon was making just a higher low and then higher high. So definitely relative strength, right? We did get a big sell-off end of the day. Everything did in that last 10 minutes. But it's shaping up. It's first, I would say, relative strength day. So if we get a higher low here, or a higher low, higher high, that may mark the temporary bottom for Amazon. So we are seeing some signs here. We are getting close to a temporary bottom, right? Meta is getting to that support. Amazon here is showing some relative strength. It's been the weakest so far, right? And this way down, like holy smokes, like 31% drop, right? It's been so weak. It's been relative weakness entire way down. On any of these bounces, it just kind of bounced 1 or 2 days and then just kidding, goes to the lower low. So it's a good sign that one of the weakest Mega Next 7 names are starting to show signs of strength, relative strength, on at least for the first, kind of like the first day. So yeah, I mean, makes sense, right? This is the do or die zone, pretty much, right? Last structure here, we crack here, we're looking at really nothing down here, right? Look at this one, just one move up and not a lot of volume. So we are also just in cracking into this, right? What do you call it? 2022 high, 20 to 21. That we had this 1 year consolidation sideways. So we are kind of cracking into it, and it makes sense to bounce there. So it's also this structure, right? So as long as Amazon hold this structure, this kind of look like that monthly head and shoulders too, right? If we bounce here, and then just kidding, right? The Qs are going to form the same thing. So let's look for this. See if it bounces here, and if it does get a big bounce, then I'm looking up closer to 180. 180 will be the first target we're going to break. Uh, then we got to break 184. We can break 184, looking at 180, around this 186 mark. I was surprised. I don't know. I mean, market can do anything, right? Surprises like high volatility means it could go big percentage in both ways. So currently the VIX is at like 70 or something. The VIX would be at 40, 45. Yeah, the UVIX is at 70, the double one. Yeah. So yeah, if it bounces 8%, I wouldn't even be surprised because of how high the VIX is. So let's see if we crack these levels. But major resistance is going to be this 192, right? This is where we tried to hold for so long and broke below weekly downtrend. If we can get above here, that'll be a really good sign. But one day at a time, we still have 12% away. So yeah, so the relative strength here, it's a good sign for me. Seeing the weakest Max 17 is showing relative strength. One of the weakest. I would say Google is probably the weakest of all, and still the weakest. So Google, no signs of any kind of relative strength at this moment. Also, a near 30% drop into we're into this 2021 high as well, right? We just poked at it, high of 2021 high. So prior all-time high is all being tested at this moment, which I don't think we're just gonna flush through it, especially if this is a longer term time frame test, right? It took months, I mean not months, years to back test prior all-time high, same as Amazon at the moment. I don't think we're just gonna say, just kidding, right? We're gonna go all like this. So let's see. Bounces here. This is pretty much it, right? We're at these line right here, right? We are cracking into the structure now. We are at the top of the structure, which is where we're right at it at the moment. 43. So if we gap down to 140, that'll be a place that you definitely want to bounce, right? 140 is here. This triple top right here, and you can see this triple top broke out, back test right here. Now acting as support, right? And then after we broke out, we just went. So that's the level I'm looking at. If we do gap down to 140, I think that's where it can potentially get like a V-shape area if we do reach that level. But this is where we're starting to hit major support zone for Google, right? Look at this volume around this area versus right up here. There's literally nothing other than this, right? So you can see we just flushed through all this because there's low volume. There's not a lot of support along the way. And this is the first level of support that it tried to hell, right? Look at this on this volume here. It's tried to hold here, tried to hold here, tried to hold here, tried to hold here, couldn't. Broke down from it. Now we just kind of flushed through into the next level of demand zone. Okay, very simple. Supply and demand. Okay, not a lot of support here. Now we flushed through it. Now we're right into the next demand zone. So see if this support can hold. Zoom in a little bit to see if any kind of signs. Yeah, no, not really. See, Amazon made like higher highs and hold its range, but I wouldn't call this relative strength or weakness. I would say just same strength as the Qs Friday. But this end of the day kind of just ruined it. Yeah, and then closed low today, so a little bit lower after hours, but yeah, no signs of any kind of bounces at this moment yet. Whereas Amazon, yeah, you can see it's shipping a little bit better with this potential of a higher, right? That's why you say we want a big bounce so that on the pullback we have room for a higher low. Right? This bounce is huge, 8%. Now we have room, even if we got a big pullback, it was like a 3-4% pullback, we have room for a higher low. Look at Google, there's no room for that. We're already at the lows. I want to see is a big pullback, maybe something like this. Gap down a little bit to 140, big bounce, and then we have a room for now for that far higher low to form the uptrend. All right, let's take a look at Microsoft. All right, So we are into this structure. I think I talked about this as well. And if we crack this, um, there's nothing below us. So we are at the absolute low of the structure, sitting right at 136 at this moment, and which is the high of this candle. Haven't really backtested the prior all-time high yet. So prior all-time high was here for its 2021, but it doesn't have to get there. So Microsoft is right at the do or die zone as well. If we crack this structure right here, right, we break below, then look at all this. We're really not going that much. So one scenario here is that we can call it a, let's say it breaks below, and we don't get see any follow through, and it kind of just V-shape like that. That's another scenario. Where we break support, no follow through because of this, the amount of move we already, right? If you drop 20% into a move and then crack support, right? There's a good chance that might not get follow through, right? It's not a penny stock where it can go down 80% and can still keep going, right? We're talking about Microsoft here. So, and also we are in just a small trend line support, nothing crazy here. Right? We zoom in 4 hour, you can see it react here made multiple times during the pre-market. Bounce, bounce exactly right here, bounce right here, bounce exactly right here. And we just touched it again. Although not a significant bounce, right? We did bounce right here. Let's see. Okay, it's 5% bounce is pretty big. So we can call this another reaction, right? And see if we can make a higher low, kind of like Amazon. Although it's not as strong as Amazon, but you can see we aren't the low of the day where like Google is already at the low of the day. Let's see if we can make a higher low here. So if we bounce from here, that may potentially be the first higher low, higher high that we see in forever since this move. Yeah, let's see if it shapes up. We are at the support, right? And so a lot of these guys are support, kind of like their do or die support zone. Some can still gap one more leg down, then bounce. But there's my biggest worry one would be Apple. This is just looking like a, yeah. Back test of this structure, very clear. This is a very clean look structure. I can't be more clear than this, right? Complete sideways. So we are just back testing this at the moment. Broke above this structure, failed, and then right came back below it. Couldn't get over this. I think we was talking about this together last week. This 223 resistance. Obviously, nobody saw these two coming, but we are right at a support, I would say. Right at the top of the structure. We do crack a little bit lower. Then I'm looking down around this 180 zone. And this 183 and 180. We bounce. Yeah, we're going to test the top of this structure. Now it's going to act as resistance. So 196. 196 is, and 195 is going to be first resistance for me when we do bounce, which is also the low of this as well, right? Okay. Triple top, breakout, back test, bounce. So super clear. So when we do come up to it, it's going to act as resistance. And let's see if we can crack above it. All right, Nvidia. So we obviously need Nvidia to bounce as well. It's not showing any signs of that yet. So you can even grind lower into the end of after hours. Relative weak. We cracked the pre-market low as well, pretty big. See if there's any support. Also testing August low, and this is also the structure. Same thing, right? Kind of the same structure as Microsoft. Crack below this. Wow, right? Look at this. Look how thin that volume is. Literally nothing. along the way. So same idea for me. I personally think this structure is going to hold. Doesn't mean we can't get another leg down, right? Get another leg down to around this $90 zone. That's going to be where I personally think it's going to bounce. Or we can just bounce right here. Doesn't matter. But 90 to this $86 needs to hold for me, for NVIDIA. And we bounce from here. Then we make it that monthly lower high move. And then if we roll over, market is definitely setting up to get the bear market. If we roll over just like that Qs I talked about, we get a monthly downtrend, right? If we get a big bounce, right? Let's get a 20% bounce, 30% bounce, right? Back to 116. Make that monthly lower high, rolls over, cracks this low, and look how much space we have, right? We can drop another freaking 36%, right? That's gonna create the bear market there. Um, yeah, so let's take, yeah, so those are my thoughts on. So I do think will get a big bounce, but after that, it's anybody's game, right? It's definitely bulls and bears have that playing field now versus when we're just grinding straight up. See, on the monthly, right, there is not a lot of support if we do crack this, right, this level. It's just a straight move down. So I won't be surprised to get a monthly. This is also in one move, right? So this is a 1 monthly move. And if we do bounce here, 25%, yeah, 25% bounce, still a bear flex on the monthly. So it's a big bounce. It's huge. If everything bounces 20%, right? Market's definitely gonna get that lower high as well on that monthly lower high move. I'm not calling for a lower low, but we'll see how this bounces shape up. If we get a weak bounce, right, it kind of grinds up a little bit, and then we hit here, and then we kind of just don't really have that excitement, exuberant anymore in the market. It's weak, and we start rolling over. Confirm a daily downtrend here. Next thing you know, we confirm a weekly downtrend, right? Yeah, we're probably gonna get that monthly downtrend. So, but we get something like poof, and then next thing you know, we get a weekly uptrend here, hits the 50% mark, right? Markets is bouncing to the 50% mark. Then we have that chance to get that monthly higher low because if we confirm weekly uptrend, then you get a 50% retracement. We have so much space that we could potentially form that monthly higher low, and that'll be that'll mean this likely the bottom, temporary bottom for this year. Um, so we'll have to see how this next month shapes up. Very important on this bounce. All right, let's go off for you guys. Stay safe out there. Make sure to keep your stop losses tight and look for levels, clear, strong support levels where that the market needs to hold. And yeah, I'll update you guys on the commodities tomorrow. Let's see if get that monthly bounce going on the markets at the moment because it's just one move down. Um, we are weekly oversold. Last time we were weekly oversold, I think, was 2021, low of it on the bear markets, and also the obviously this down here as well during 2022. All right, let's go for you guys. Have a good rest of you guys' weekend.